During a routine dentist appointment, the hygienist, who also happened to be my high school friend, said, "So, you and your husband have an open marriage now?" Confused, I said no. She looked horrified. Later that night, I found messages where he bragged about being free again. I printed every message and left them in his gym bag for his mistress to find. My name's Dana. I'm 39, a mom of 2, and until a few months ago, I thought my marriage was mostly fine. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. Not exactly a thrilling place, but it's home. Quiet, family-oriented, good schools, decent coffee. We've been in the same 3-bedroom ranch-style house for almost a decade now. Josh, my husband, works in real estate. I work part-time at the library and manage everything else: school pickups, grocery lists, permission slips, swim lessons, you name it. We met in college. He was smooth. Charming. He had this way of making people feel like they were the only one in the room. Back then, I thought it was a gift. Now I think it's a warning sign. The weird thing is, there wasn't some big fight. No screaming match. Just one normal day. It was a Wednesday. I had a dentist appointment. That's it. That's how all this started. Megan was my hygienist that day. We went to high school together, weren't close friends, but we knew each other. She used to sit behind me in geometry and draw on her jeans with pen. She'd gotten married and had 2 kids. We followed each other on Instagram, liked each other's photos sometimes, nothing deep. Anyway, I was lying back in the chair, she was scraping away at my molars, and we were doing that awkward half-talking thing. She asked how my kids were, said her youngest just started kindergarten, all normal stuff. Then she asked about Josh. "So, you and Josh doing okay?" I said yeah, same old, you know, just busy. And that's when she said it. She paused, tool still in her hand, and said, "So, you and your husband have an open marriage now?" I remember exactly how I felt. Like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. I blinked at her and said, "What?" She looked confused, like she expected a different reaction. "Oh. I just thought, he's been telling people at the gym that you guys have an arrangement." He told Kelly. "You remember her? Kelly Graham? She works at that new CrossFit place." I just stared at her. My mouth was open. I felt sick. "No," I said. "We don't. At all." She looked horrified. Her eyes got big, and she stepped back from the chair like she'd just dropped a secret she wasn't supposed to know. "I'm so sorry," she said. I thought you knew." I wouldn't have said anything if I thought, but I wasn't listening anymore. I left 10 minutes later. Said I had a migraine, which wasn't even a lie. My head was pounding. I sat in my car outside the dental office for a long time. I couldn't move. Couldn't even cry. My hands were shaking. Josh and I didn't have an open marriage. We barely had time for regular sex, let alone something open. And now he was going around telling people, strangers at the gym, that he was free? That night, after the kids were in bed, I went looking. I knew better than to go through his phone. Josh was careful. He'd changed his passcode months ago and blamed it on client privacy. But I remembered something. An old iPad he used to take on showings, before he upgraded. I found it in the nightstand drawer under some old magazines. It still worked. Battery was dead, but I plugged it in and waited. When it finally turned on, I went straight to the Messages app. I didn't even have to search. Her name was pinned to the top, Kelly G. There were photos. Flirty ones. One of her in a tank top with her tongue out. One of him shirtless in our bathroom. I felt like I was watching a stranger's life. I kept scrolling. They had nicknames. Kels and Jay. They called me the warden. Josh had written, "She doesn't care anymore. She's like a roommate I have to keep happy so she doesn't blow up my life." With you, I feel alive again. Like I can finally breathe. She'll never know. She doesn't look. But I did look. And I saw everything. I sat there until 2 a.m. reading it all. Then I got up. Went downstairs. Pulled out the printer. I printed every single message. I didn't just want to know. I wanted her to know. I wanted to see what her face would look like reading what I had read. I wanted her to see exactly the kind of man she'd thrown herself at. The next morning, I waited until he was in the shower, then I slipped the printed messages into a big yellow envelope. I slid the envelope into the side pocket of his gym bag. He kissed me goodbye 10 minutes later. Said, "Love you," like he always did. I didn't say it back. He called me around noon. I ignored the first 2 calls. Picked up the third. His voice was tight. Panicked. "What the hell, Dana?" "What? You went through my stuff?" "No," I said. "I went through my stuff. My marriage. My name. My life." Silence. Then he started in, calling me crazy, saying I violated his privacy, saying I humiliated him. He actually used the word humiliated. I almost laughed. "You humiliated yourself," I said. "I just gave your girlfriend the receipts." He hung up. That night, he didn't come home. The next morning, I told the kid's dad was staying at a hotel for a little while. I didn't lie. I didn't badmouth him. But I stopped covering for him too. He officially moved out the next week. Told me he was figuring things out. I told him I'd already figured it out. We were done. He tried to spin it. Told people we'd grown apart. That it was mutual. But word got out fast. Kelly quit the gym 2 weeks later. Megan said people were talking. Apparently, she had no idea he was still married, or maybe she pretended not to know. Either way, she dumped him. I know because he called crying a month later. I didn't answer. There's more to this. The custody fight. The court documents. What I found out later. But that moment at the dentist's office? That's where it all broke open. He thought he could lie and charm his way through everything. He thought I'd never look. Never find out. But I did. And I made sure the truth found him, right where it hurt. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the way he talked about me. Like I was dead weight. Like I was holding him back from his real life. The envelope in the gym bag was just the start. I thought once Kelly found out, that'd be the end of it. I thought maybe he'd come to his senses. Apologize. Show some kind of guilt. But no. Josh doubled down. He stayed at some short-term rental for a few weeks, probably paid with our joint savings. Then I heard from a friend at the school that he was dating around. Said he'd been on Hinge. Even had a Tinder profile that still said husband and father first, like he hadn't just nuked our family from the inside. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part came during mediation. We agreed to try divorce mediation before going to court, mostly for the kids. I didn't want to drag them through a custody battle if we could avoid it. But Josh, he had other plans. He showed up with a lawyer. Not a mediator. A lawyer. And not just any lawyer, some smug, young guy in a fitted suit who looked like he practiced closing arguments in the mirror. His job was to paint me as unstable. Josh's opening argument was that I'd violated his privacy, acted erratically, and was not emotionally fit for full custody. He even said I'd weaponized the children. I sat there in that office with my hands in my lap while he lied, boldly, in front of strangers. Like I was the villain. I leaned over to my lawyer and whispered, "He's going to regret this." And he did. Because I'd been quiet until then. I hadn't posted anything. Hadn't told his boss what he did. Hadn't gone nuclear. But now? Now he was trying to take my kids from me. So I got to work. First, I reached out to Megan. She still had connections at the CrossFit gym. She also knew people at the old gym where Kelly had first met Josh. Megan told me something I hadn't known. Josh had a habit of getting too friendly with women at the gym. There were rumors before Kelly, another woman he'd trained with last year, who stopped showing up after a month. People said he made her uncomfortable. She never filed a complaint, but it was enough to make people side-eye him after he and Kelly went public. I asked Megan if she could quietly ask around. She did more than that. She got me screenshots from a private gym group chat. Josh had been bragging months earlier about finally breaking free and getting out from under the wife trap. One message even said, "She'll just cry and get over it. She always does. Just gotta play the dad card when I need to." I printed them. Every single one. Then I went to our shared bank account. I couldn't empty it, that would be seen as aggressive. But I started documenting every purchase he made with joint funds. $289 at a steakhouse. $1,100 for a weekend work trip to Denver, he was with someone else. $62 on roses, delivered to an address I didn't recognize. I flagged it all. Then I hired a forensic accountant. Josh had no idea. I let him run his mouth at mediation, calling me bitter, emotional, still obsessed. Meanwhile, I was building a paper wall that would crush his case. Then the bomb dropped. I got a call from his assistant. She used to work with him back when he was still at his old brokerage. She asked if we could talk. Turns out, Josh had been using company time and resources to entertain clients at bars, and those clients were all women. Some were real estate investors. Some were not. One of them, according to the assistant, was a girl who couldn't have been older than 24. This assistant had kept emails, receipts, calendar invites. She'd quit the company a month before because she was sick of covering for him. I asked if she'd be willing to make a statement. She said yes. By the time we went back to mediation, I had a binder 3 inches thick. Emails. Screenshots. Texts. Statements. Bank records. When Josh and his lawyer tried again to argue that I was unfit, my lawyer calmly slid the binder across the table. His lawyer flipped through it, eyes getting wider by the second. Josh sat there with his mouth open. Then he looked at me and said, "What the hell is this?" I said, "Receipts. You're in real estate, right? You should understand the value of proof." He stormed out. We didn't finish mediation. It went to court. And it got uglier before it got better. Josh's reputation started to fall apart. His brokerage let him go quietly. Word spread. Clients backed out of deals. His social media went silent. He tried to paint me as the scorned woman. But all I had to do was show people what he had said. What he had done. No exaggeration. No spin. Just the truth. And the truth was enough. After court started, things got darker. At first, I thought Josh would back off. He saw the evidence. He saw the look on the judge's face. I assumed he'd try to settle, try to cut a deal and save face. Instead, he got meaner. He stopped paying his portion of the kids' school expenses. Said he couldn't afford it, even though I saw him post a picture from a Broncos game the same week with box seat tags around his neck. He started showing up late to pick up the kids. Sometimes not at all. One night, I waited in the parking lot of a Wendy's for over an hour with my daughter crying in the back seat because Daddy promised. He wouldn't respond to my messages. Only sent vague one-liners, "Can't make it," or "Something came up." But the final straw came when he told our son, Owen, who was 8, that "Mommy was trying to take me away from you." I found out from Owen himself. I sat on the floor of the laundry room that night and cried until my chest hurt. I realized then. Josh wasn't just trying to save himself anymore. He was trying to ruin me. But I wasn't done. My lawyer had already filed for full legal and physical custody. The court was taking it seriously. But now, we needed more. We needed to show a pattern. So I started documenting everything. Every late pickup. Every missed call. Every lie he told the kids. I kept a log. I recorded drop-offs with my phone in the cup holder. Then, something unexpected happened. Kelly messaged me. Yes, that Kelly. The gym girl. The one he'd been sleeping with behind my back. The one who'd dumped him after finding the messages in the gym bag. I didn't expect to hear from her, let alone what she had to say. Her message was long. It started with, "I owe you an apology." She told me that Josh had lied to her from the beginning. Said we were basically separated, that I didn't care, that the marriage was already dead. He showed her pictures of us from months earlier and told her they were from years ago. She said she only realized the truth when she found the messages, and when people at the gym started treating her like she was the homewrecker. Apparently, Josh didn't just sleep with her. There was another girl. A trainer in training, just 22 years old. When Kelly confronted him, he accused her of being insecure. Said she was jealous of his freedom. She said, "I thought he was just cocky. I didn't know he was dangerous." Her words. Then she offered something I didn't expect. "I have photos," she said. "Messages too. Do you want them?" I said yes. What she sent me made my stomach turn. There were more messages, this time between Josh and the young trainer, Sophie. In them, he joked about dodging his wife's questions, and called me the old chain. One message said, "If she dies early, I get the house and the kids." LOL. He laughed about me dying. Even if he was joking, it felt like a punch in the gut. Kelly also sent a picture of Josh and Sophie at a bar. On a night he'd told the court he was working late. I gave everything to my lawyer. And then I made a choice. I contacted Sophie directly. I didn't threaten her. I didn't accuse her. I told her who I was. Told her that I wasn't mad at her. That I knew what Josh was capable of. And then I said, "If you ever want to talk, I'll listen. No judgment." She didn't reply at first. But 3 days later, she did. And what she told me blew the lid off everything. Josh had asked her to invest in a fake business idea. Said it would be a way out for them. She had wired him $5,000. He promised to pay her back. He never did. That was the final twist. Josh had gone from liar to cheater to manipulator, and now, fraud. My lawyer filed a formal complaint with the court. Financial misconduct. Harassment. We submitted everything. Even the judge looked disgusted. Josh showed up to the next hearing looking like hell. Hair messy. Tie crooked. He kept glancing around like someone was about to hit him. And when the judge asked him to explain the business investment, he stammered and said, "It was a misunderstanding." The judge wasn't buying it. But I still wasn't done. After the fraud accusation hit the court file, Josh stopped trying to play the victim. He knew it was over. He showed up to the last custody hearing alone. No lawyer this time. He sat with his head down, suit wrinkled, and didn't say much. The judge reviewed the binder, my full case, page by page. Every message, every bank withdrawal, every broken promise, every lie. Then the judge looked at Josh and said, "You've shown a serious lack of judgment, honesty, and stability. I'm awarding full legal and physical custody to the mother. You'll be granted supervised visitation only, subject to review after 6 months." Josh didn't argue. He just nodded. No emotion. Nothing. It should have felt like victory. And in a way, it did. But it also felt like standing in the ashes of a house you used to live in. I had one. But there was no joy in it. Until the next part. A few weeks later, I got a call from Sophie. She said she'd gone to the police about the money. She'd kept receipts. She'd wired him $5,000 from her college savings, money she'd been putting away to move out of her parents' place. He'd promised her a return and ghosted her. They took her seriously. Josh got arrested for fraud and wire transfer deception. Nothing huge, he wasn't going to prison for life, but enough to put a charge on his record. Enough to land in the local paper. I didn't tell the kids. I didn't have to. Someone at school mentioned it to Owen. That's when I made a mistake. I told Owen the truth. Not all of it. Just enough. That his dad made some bad choices. That sometimes grown-ups lie. That we don't hide from the truth, but we don't have to let it ruin us either. He didn't cry. He just asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I said, "Because I wanted to protect you." He nodded. But I could tell it hurt. That was my karma. Even though I did everything I couldn't shield them from all of it. Some of it still got through. And that's on me. Meanwhile, Josh couldn't hold a steady job anymore. Word had spread in the real estate community. Nobody wanted to partner with him. Clients didn't trust him. His license wasn't revoked, but he was basically blacklisted. He tried to start his own firm. It lasted 3 months. Filed for bankruptcy after 6. I heard from Megan that he was living in a studio apartment in Greeley, driving for Uber part-time. One night he picked up someone who recognized him from his big shot days and asked, "Hey, didn't you used to sell million-dollar homes?" Josh didn't answer. Karma had a long memory. As for me, I went back to school part-time. Got my MLS degree. Started working full-time at the library. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. The kids were okay. Therapy helped. So did honesty. I never lied to them about what happened, but I also never let them hate their father. That's his burden to carry. The last time I saw Josh was during a supervised visit at the child center. He looked older. Like life had finally landed on top of him. He didn't say much to me. Just sat in the chair and watched our daughter draw on the whiteboard. I walked out of that building and realized I felt nothing. Not hate. Not love. Just, done. But I'll be honest. One part of me did want that final twist. That little sting of justice. So I gave it to myself. About a year later, I went to a gym across town. Not his gym. Not Kelly's gym. Just a new place, far enough that no one knew me. And I saw a flyer for a new trainer program. Guess who was listed on the bottom of the flyer? Sophie. She was smiling in the photo. Confident. Strong. I waited until the class ended and walked up to her. She smiled. "Dana?" I smiled back. "Glad to see you made it out." She said, "You too." We exchanged numbers. She offered me a free intro session. I said yes. As I walked away, I realized something. That entire mess, that pain, the betrayal, none of it had the final word. I did.